making sure that people show up as the best versions of themselves is really what etiquette is. So I love being able to do that. Whomever you are with should never be competing against your phone.
Relationships are like glass. Like once broken, you may be able to fix it, but the crack still remains.
Yes, absolutely. Put that phone down, shoulders back, head up, just walk in that room like it's your party.
So a few of us boys, we just ran out of class and started dancing in the rain. Oh. I don't know if that's good etiquette, but it gave us a shot of joy. It gave us a huge shot of joy. Welcome to Gems with Harakh, a podcast where luxury meets meaning and where the stories behind extraordinary people shine just as bright as the diamonds themselves. I'm Harakh Mehta, fourth-generation jeweler, spiritual thinker, and founder of Harakh, a high jewelry house featuring the finest colorless diamonds and rare gems, guided by my Indian heritage and a deep belief in compassionate luxury. Each week, we go beneath the surface to uncover the rare qualities that make a life truly precious. I'm getting goosebumps. Oh my word. I'm grateful that you're here.
My motto in life is be kind and serve.
I mean, it makes me happy to make other people happy.
When we receive, we give, and it feels just as good to give.
I think that's exactly what this show is about. In today's world, proper manners and overall etiquette seem like a thing of the past. But for this week's gem, it's both her passion and her purpose. Jules Hirst is a highly sought-after etiquette expert whose goal is to help us make lasting and impactful impressions. From understanding the silverware on the table to simply being on time, Jules is changing people's lives, boosting confidence, and ensuring that each of us is unforgettable in our own way. Jules, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
What an interesting profession.
Yes.
Teaching people etiquette. How did you fall into it?
For me, it was, like you said, a passion. I understand first impressions are everything. That's how I was raised. First impressions are lasting impressions, going on and on and on. So when my daughters were getting into high school, I sent them to an etiquette class. And I was just so interested with their workbooks, and I would read it. And then, so I Googled what it took to be an etiquette coach, and that was in 2006. So I got certified then, and I've been teaching it ever since. And I just, as you said, making sure that people show up as the best versions of themselves is really what etiquette is. So I love being able to do that. Fantastic.
Let's go a little back into your journey. You said that while growing up, etiquette was very important to you?
Yes. Well, it wasn't really so much important to me as it was to my parents. And if I wanted to not get in trouble, I did what I was told. But, fast forward as an adult, yes, of course, I am so glad my parents instilled that into me and my siblings because, one, it is very important, and two, it gave me, not knowing, it gave me my career.
Interesting. Yeah. And tell us, so once you got certified as an etiquette coach, how did the journey go from then on?
So from there, I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to originally do social etiquette. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where, because I liked having parties and, and there's an etiquette to that as well. But I started working with kids just to kind of get my flow, get my presentation skills down. And shortly after that, I was contacted by a TV news to do a segment and when it came to business etiquette. And then after that, I was contacted to be a contributing author in the business etiquette. So I was like, all right, God, I guess I'm going business etiquette. Forget the social etiquette. We'll do that later. We'll start with business etiquette and we'll see where that goes. And that was the perfect direction for me to be going into.
So you did social etiquette, you did business etiquette. Yes. Have you branched out into other forms of etiquette?
So I afternoon tea etiquette, which is a lot of fun.
Oh, I love afternoon teas.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun. So I have clients who will do the business etiquette, then they'll do the networking, and then they'll get some teams together. We'll do the teen etiquette. And then they'll say, okay, what else can we do? Because we don't really want to do business dining again. We don't really want, not the teens. Like, how about afternoon tea etiquette? Wear the hats and the dresses and the gloves so then we'll go that route. So that's kind of what I've done a little bit of wedding etiquette and spoken at a couple of conferences, but not too much. It's mainly business, teens, and afternoon tea etiquette.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Now, For all those people out there who want to maybe up their etiquette, but really don't know where to start, what would be your guidance to them?
So especially right now, because everything is online. So you can go to Instagram, you can go to YouTube, you can pick up a book. Emily Post is one of the OGs of etiquette, right? She brought etiquette back into style in the 50s. So that's where I would start. But it's just having respect for yourself and showing respect for others. The golden rule is do unto others as you want done unto you. So start with that. What does that mean to you? And then little by little things, you just start building from there. And remember things, like I said, respect. When you're talking to somebody, have respect for the person that you're talking with. Put your phone away. Make eye contact. If someone asks you something, respond back within a timely fashion.
I like the put your phone away. I think that's very essential in today's social media world, especially with younger children.
Yes. Especially when you're eating. Come on, you can put your phone away for 60 minutes or 30 minutes, however long you're at that luncheon or dinner, because whomever you are with should never be competing against your phone.
Exactly.
So, but here's the thing, though. In this day and age, people want to get a hold of us right away. So you have to be mindful of that, but then you just let your dining partner know. If you see me looking at my phone, because my daughter's going to call, my babysitter is going to call, this person's going to call, going to send me a text. So if you see me looking at my phone, that's why. So that this way, if we're having lunch and I keep doing this, you're not thinking, well, then why am I here? You're not even paying attention to me.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you saying that in case I'm in a situation where I'm having lunch with maybe like 6 people and I'm expecting a call from my colleague, it's an urgent call, I just cannot miss it. Do I inform them in advance that, look, I'm getting a call, that's why I keep looking at my phone every so often?
Yes.
Something like that?
Communication. It can solve so many things. So then, this way, that way your dining partners know what's going on. You take your call, you excuse yourself from the table, you go take your call, you come back, okay, I'm all done and I'm all yours. Then you put the phone away. And then now you are fully present with your guests.
When somebody thinks etiquette, afternoon tea, like the mind conjures up vision of high society, glamour, jewelry, my world, because that's how I associate it with. But it's not necessarily just for high society or only for a certain segment of people, right?
Correct. And you are absolutely correct. And that's kind of how I start my etiquette lessons with, it's not just for these people, it's for everybody. It's just life skills. It's knowing what to do and when to do it. That's all it is, having confidence for anything that you do. You're going to a networking event, you know what to do. You're going to a dinner, you know what to do. It's a 7-course meal, you know what to do. That's what etiquette comes down to. And then just that respect for yourself and those around you.
I like the word respect because I believe that good etiquette does come from a place of respect. I believe it's the root of it all. In many ways, like where they say, if somebody comes and says, oh, I want to know good etiquette, if you respect the person, you are going to be much better off than someone who does not respect the person and is, in the same boat. So imagine like the 2 situations where you have one person who's, let's say, taken a course, but has not imbibed the respect part of it, and the other person who's not taken the course, but imbibes is generally a respectful person. Wouldn't you say that, the person is already at a head start because they respect someone?
Yes, absolutely. And with etiquette, so let's say just dining etiquette, right? You don't go to a table and say, hi, I'm Jules Hirst. I've taken a manners class. Have you? You don't do that, right? But like you said, they know by just how you treat yourself and more importantly, how you treat others. Now, if I've never taken a dining etiquette course, but I know respect, I know, I have that part down, then that's right there. You are already way ahead of the game than somebody who's all about me, all about me. Not to say that every now and then you can't think about yourself, because you absolutely need to have boundaries, but it shouldn't always only be about you.
I was meeting a business leader the other day, and he told me that, there are almost two sides to the coin. When you respect others and you show them like the appropriate amount of, due, you give them their due essentially. You don't want to be seen as somebody who's walked over. So he said that, I need to be more assertive than what I am, and that may come across as disrespect, but I'm respecting myself. And therefore, it may come across as disrespect, but actually, I'm starting from a place of respect. And that got me thinking that, you always have to kind of draw that fine line between, respecting others and respecting yourself. Now, I'm curious, you do so much coaching with, business leaders, organizations, employees. Have you ever come across this, let's say, dilemma?
So a dilemma like where I need to say no to something so that because I'm really saying yes to me.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Especially right now with the holidays, we are getting invitations left and right. But so I do remind people, just remember, every time you say yes to someone else, you're really saying no to me and to my, and time for myself. So, and we need to be mindful of that. And we don't have to give some big excuse. We don't have to be disrespectful. Why would you invite me there? I'm coming. Yeah, no. Thank you for the invitation. Unfortunately, I cannot attend. Unfortunately, I have a conflict. But you thanking them. Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. Unfortunately, I cannot. Period. That's the end of the end of the sentence. And if you say it with warmth and sincerity, good body language, you're fine. It's when that's that attitude. Like, we can leave that attitude out. And yes, you got to be mindful for you and for my time.
So it almost seems like you've got to be empathetic to the other person's feelings, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We don't want to hurt somebody's feelings just because we're having a bad day, so, or just because, for whatever the reason is. So just maybe sometimes take a breath. And then speak, so your body language speaks louder than anything that comes out of your mouth. So your tone of voice and your body language and being sincere, and you're good. It's okay to say no.
Certainly it is, because if you do not say no, then obviously, you're not going to be very happy with your own self at some point, at which point you'll burst. So better to do it in small doses. But so that's quite all right when you're with someone. Like I'm with you, you can probably sense my body language. I can sense yours. You come across as a warm person. You come across as somebody who's caring, But let's say if I'm away, like, let's say if I'm speaking to someone on the telephone, or nowadays people do texting, or, on social media. What are certain rules I can follow so that my warmth, my emotion is conveyed, even though like my body language is not to be seen?
Okay, so excellent question, because at the end of the day, all we have are the letters on that screen, right? So years ago, when email was the thing, we would say, don't respond back in all caps, because it comes across as shouting.
Screaming.
So it would be a lot of that too. So, the same things sort of, just still apply, such as don't respond back when you're heated. Let's say you get a message and it's just making you really upset, or it's testing your patience, so to speak. What I would suggest is hit the response, write it out, but don't put a to, because you don't want to accidentally send it. Write the response back so that you get it out of your system, right? Because you're just, and you don't want to do that. But you get it out, put it down. And then once you've had a chance to relax, go back and look at it again, and then say, okay, oops, that's a little bit too harsh for, or sometimes we start reading something and our minds automatically start making up a story, and we didn't read it completely because our mind went this way, right? So then you go back and you read again, oh, okay, I misread that, or I misunderstood. Right. And again, communication is huge. So you just want to make sure, so don't ever send back something when you're heated. Just let some time pass before you respond back. Even if you need to say something like, I'm going to take a minute before I respond back. So this way you're acknowledging you received it, and you're acknowledging I'm going to respond. It's just not going to be right now.
Got it. So that pause really creates like that space that you need to get back into your, let's say, your mindfulness and, give an appropriate response. So
right.
that itself is actually a sign of respect
Yes,
because
absolutely.
you're not only respecting the other person, but you're respecting your own self.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
Talking about etiquette in terms of, let's say, age groups.
Okay.
Now, I come from India, and it's a country which places an inordinate amount of respect to your elders. And I don't know how it's in the United States per se, but I know that in India, there are certain things that you just cannot say to somebody who's over a certain age, even if it's to your own detriment. And I was just curious, what are some pro tips to get across some messages, especially to an elderly person, a senior citizen, respecting your own self as well as respecting them?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because growing up, my parents they're from Texas, but we are of Mexican heritage. So it was very much the same. It's very much the same way.
I guess we have a lot in common.
A lip smack could get me into, a little bit, got me in trouble. So it was very much the same way, but that's not the case now. So like with my granddaughter, she has way more freedom than I could ever dream of.
Wait, you said granddaughter?
Yes.
Oh my word. That took me a second to realize it.
So things are definitely different now than what they were back in the 70s when I was growing up. But we still need to have respect, be mindful. Again, pausing before you respond back. So I will sometimes say something. Again, I grew up in the 70s. Things were said differently back then. So with my daughter, Mom, I just want you to know we don't say XYZ anymore. You can phrase it this way. But she would not call me out in front of my granddaughter. She would not call me out in front of other people. She would wait until we were face to face to each other. The same thing with an aunt or with an uncle. We don't call people out in front of everybody. We wait and tell them one-to-one, we don't do this anymore. We can't say that. I was, maybe you shouldn't say this anymore. I didn't really like when you said that. So again, communication, speaking up from the beginning, but have a relaxed tone and don't ever call somebody out in front of everybody. If it's a heated situation and I need to extract myself, then like any conversation, you try to pivot the conversation, or you can say, you know what, I think I need to take a step back, or I need to take a break, and then you just take yourself out of it so that it doesn't escalate into something where there's no return.
Yes, you never ever reach the point of no return.
No.
You do not break relationships. Somebody once told me that relationships are like glass. Like once broken, you may be able to fix it, but the crack still remains.
Yes, absolutely. I love that analogy. Yes, that's so true.
Welcome to Harakh, where craftsmanship and compassion meet. Handcrafted with rare, colorless diamonds and generational traditions, each jewel is an act of conscious beauty. Experience luxury with purpose. Discover the collection at harakh.com.
A lot of people care about fashion, what they wear. Obviously, jewelry, we'll come to that later. But let's start with clothes. What's the sort of your go-to guidelines for somebody who wants to have proper etiquette while dressing in different situations?
Sure. So I do a lot of college speaking. I go to campuses and talk there. So I always tell them, you want to have basics, a nice slacks or a skirt, a dress. And even if the dress code, let's say, is business casual, always, always, always wear a blazer. And the reason why is if somebody comes in, like a higher up or somebody that you really need to make that first impression, a really positive impression on, you can always throw on a jacket and you're instantly elevated. But if you don't have that jacket, if you don't have that blazer, you can't elevate. I mean, you can't just pull a jacket out of thin air, right? Or if you go somewhere and you have that jacket on and you see that everybody's really casual, you take your jacket off, not a big deal. But if you have that jacket on, again, over that business casual, the slacks and a nice blouse, and you go in and you see that everybody is wearing jackets and they've taken it up a level, now you are at the same, you're at the same level as everybody else. So that is like the number one thing I always tell people, always, always take a blazer. Have that blazer, have that third piece on.
It's almost like you're empowering people. You're making them feel more confident. You're making them feel more secure.
Yes. Yes, because that, right, I mean, you need to have that confidence, even if you don't have that confidence yet. But again, like that, going back to that jacket, you can't just pull a jacket out and you walk in and everybody's in jackets and, you know, dresses and this and that, and you're in a sweater and a nice pair of jeans and, you know, some nice shoes, but you don't feel like you're at this level. You feel like you're here, and you were already nervous to begin with. And so, but at least if you have that jacket on, okay, well, I have nice pair of jeans on, but I'm okay, I'm good, you know, and that will breathe in and off you go.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So that's about college students.
Yes.
That's about, like, you know, guys wearing blazers. What about for all the ladies out there?
So that could be for women too. I always, you know, suggest that with women as well. So always dress one level up. So, you know, so it's that plus one. So always dress up one level. So they say it's business casual, you know, you can wear nice jeans, you can wear sneakers, because, you know, sneakers now are a big thing. So, you know, but sneakers are not the same as gym shoes. So, you know, so I always say, you know, be mindful of that, wear that blazer, you know, just always, you know, dress one level up. And if you don't know what the dress, so it might be an event and they say, you know, this is the dress code, and you're still not quite sure what that is, look on the company website, look at their Instagram for previous events to kind of get an idea of what everybody wears.
Let's come to my favorite topic, jewelry. So what's your advice for the proper etiquette for jewelry? What is too much? What's too little? Because, see, I'm biased.
Okay.
I think no jewelry is too less. But obviously, I'm sure you have a differing opinion.
Well, in etiquette standard, because I agree with you. I mean, you know, jewelry is just, it's beautiful. And, you know, there's always some kind of story or something that, you know, an emotion attached to it. So it's kind of like that security. However, comma, not everybody thinks like us. So I always, what I suggest is be balanced. So you wouldn't wear big earrings, a big necklace, a big ring, a big bracelet, and a big brooch for a lunch or a job interview. Well, I guess it depends.
No, I'm just kidding.
So here's what I say in all my classes: know your audience. So in this case, it might be okay. But if you're going to go interview at a law firm or a
Yes,
bank,
of course,
you know, so you always have to take that into consideration. But yes, no, check your audience and do a little bit of research, and you do your intel. And yes, if they are fourth generation jeweler, you might get away. You might get away with that. I always say, when you go to a networking event and you're still trying to network a little, you know, that's still not comfortable, wear an interesting piece of jewelry. This is probably more for women than for men. Wear something of interest, because that will be your talking point.
A conversation starter.
Yeah, so
Yes.
like if you have a beautiful brooch, if you have a beautiful necklace, especially if it's tied to some type of history, like a necklace that maybe my dad gave my mom, or a brooch that, I don't know, my girls gave me when they, you know, whatever it is. But there's, you know, there's that story, and it's an interesting piece, it's a beautiful piece, and that will always be something that somebody can talk about, because that's in networking, that's what we tell you. Look for something, you know, if you don't know what to ask, look, oh, that's a beautiful brooch. Tell me about it. Oh, this. Oh, and then you go.
Right,
but it's
right,
a talking point.
It's a
So like I
talking
said, you know,
point.
jewelry is just, it's one of those, if done well, it can open up so many conversation avenues. And it's gorgeous too, and it makes you feel confident. So
It empowers. But
it empowers, absolutely.
But you know, I mean, as you were saying this, I was reminded of a few things that I've observed in my childhood, because I grew up in a jeweler's community. You know, I'm a fourth generation diamantaire. And keep in mind, this was back in India, but whenever we used to go to some sort of socials, whether it was some weddings or parties or, you know, some function, in a community of jewelers, where everybody wanted to compete with each other, and, you know, everybody brought on their, like, you know, their diamonds, their emeralds, there were certain women who always stood out. And I noticed that it wasn't about really, like, you know, bringing on all the carats, but it was more about like having that sense of like what to bring out when. And that reminds me to that conversation. Like, for example, one of the tricks I learned is a single line of diamonds, but true colorless diamonds stands out much more than, bigger diamonds with maybe like yellower tints or brown tints and things like that, just like the one you're wearing. So it's, there's a quiet elegance about it, and it tells a story before you enter the room. And that's what I really loved.
I always think simple but elegant. And so how does that translate into jewelry? So again, would it be like the clear diamond versus like the big, but it's not as pure? Am I understanding that correctly?
So
I'm just taking notes so I can remember.
So I'll tell you something very interesting, and this is something that blew my mind, and not a lot of jewelers know it. A diamond is formed billions of years ago, much under the crust of the earth, right? And a diamond is one of the few single element materials, so it's only carbon. There's nothing else but it's carbon, right? However, there are certain trace elements that get in the process. So there could be a little bit of nitrogen, there could be a little bit of boron, some other trace elements. Now, as it gets formed, it will not affect its structural integrity, but it will affect its appearance. And when you have a trace element in a diamond, it actually gives it what it's known as the color. So it gives it its yellow tint, its blue tints, its brown tint. I shouldn't say blue tints, but yellow tints, brown tints. And something that is truly colorless actually has no foreign element whatsoever. So a colorless diamond, which is its pure nature, actually stands out. And that's why, and that's one of the things I saw, like, as I was thinking of all these ladies that I've seen like growing up, they invested more in like the real flawless, which is like at a molecular level, it's flawless, rather than like, flawless from what a gemologist would say.
Okay.
And that's one of the secrets I've learned. And, that's one of the secrets we've applied to our brand, that we stipulate that every single diamond we use are colorless diamonds. And those pure colorless diamonds is what, makes it stand out from like across the room.
It's absolutely, so a colorless diamond with flawless etiquette. Ugh.
Oh, there you go.
Perfect. So may I ask?
Yes.
Where do you draw inspiration from? Because these are gorgeous pieces. So there's got to be something. So now I know the diamond, but anything else you want to share?
Well, it's interesting you ask. So Harakh, the name actually means joy in our native language, Gujarati. And that's really the source of inspiration. So each piece is really based on a moment of joy. What you're wearing, which is the raindrop necklace and the raindrop bracelet, is actually based on a childhood memory I had, which is a very funny story, but essentially it was oppressive summer, a lot of heat, and we were in the classroom. I must have been around like 12 or 13. And at that point, like suddenly the monsoon started. And it was much delayed, like, the monsoons were supposed to start much earlier, but it came on that point. So a few of us boys, we just ran out of class and started dancing in the rain. I don't know if that's good etiquette, but it gave us a shot of joy. It gave us a huge shot of joy. And that shot of that, that feeling of joy sort of remained with me and made its way into our collection when eventually we launched our brand in 2017.
Oh my, what a great story and how fun.
So there's a personal story in every single piece.
Okay.
There's purpose, there's intention. And so those are the inspirations. But the major source is always joy.
Okay.
And to be of joy, to spread joy, to have joy within the ecosystem.
Right. Okay, these are stunning.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. One of the things that we ask our gems to do is share with our viewers a gem of an insight. Now, this is something that could be from, it has to be personal from your life that you'd like to share. It could be words of wisdom, it could be inspiration, motivation, something that you'd like to share.
Okay, let's see. I think when you enter a room, many times if we are still lacking that confidence, we try to make ourselves small. So we, like, say, like we go to a networking event or just to any event, like a party, and we're going by ourselves, and we get to that door, and we immediately pull out our phone so that we can look like we're doing something, like we're calling, like we're looking for somebody. No, put that phone down, shoulders back, head up, just walk in that room like it's your party. Same thing when you're sitting at the table. We sit at the table and we kind of do this. No, take up your space. It's okay to be there. We take a picture. Again, we're insecure, so we make ourselves small. No, shoulders back, head up. Just don't make yourself small. You're not going to become invisible. So take up your space. It's perfectly fine. The confidence will come with doing this repeatedly. So that's what I would say. Just be confident in who you are, where you are, and just keep going, because eventually you will look back and like, oh my gosh, I remember when I couldn't even go to an event by myself. Now I'm going to 2 or 3 a week by myself. I'd rather go by myself because I can meet whomever I want.
What a beautiful insight. So next time, remember, when you go to a party, leave that phone behind.
Or at least put it away. Do not take it out. It's not a security blanket.
What's next? What's next in your chapter? Any projects you're working on? Anything you'd like to share with us?
So what's next? So this year I started training future etiquette consultants. So,
wow.
Yeah. So that's where. So
you're
my
sowing the
journey.
seeds.
I am definitely doing that, and just getting ready for the holidays, and then next year we start the ground running with dining and social etiquette. Yep. And now we are adding, like I said, etiquette certification.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So what would my etiquette certificate be today? Honestly, I'm just kidding you.
You were fabulous. I felt extremely comfortable, you and your team. So
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And where would people find more about you? If they want to get in touch with you, if they want to do one of your courses, how should they contact you?
You can go to my website, juleshirst.com.
Fantastic. As a closing tradition on this show, we present our gems, a little book encased in this gold pouch, which has a message from me. And as you know, the mission of this brand is to spread joy. So I hope that what I've written resonates with you and you continue your journey of spreading joy and teaching etiquette and making the world a better place.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. This has been fabulous. And
Thank you
I've
so
loved
much.
hearing your stories.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
To learn more about this week's guest and the Harakh brand, follow us on Instagram, YouTube, or visit harakh.com.